Thank you very much. I'm here to talk about innovation and disruption, particularly disruption, turning disruption off. Now, why is that important? Because we've seen so many industries, from hotels to limos to payments, that have been totally disrupted. And leaders are worried. They're worried whether their business can keep up with the pace of change. And I don't know about you, but I get up in the morning and I feel like that guy in the rocket sled, you know, that guy whose face is just being peeled back by the forces of change. I mean, it's moving fast, right? So I want to talk about who and what is likely to disrupt your company. But more importantly, what can you do about it? So let's start by talking about forces of disruption, technological forces that underlie business disruption. And I want to start with connectivity, because connectivity is the basis of most of the companies that are disrupting the economy today. The internet, built to provide communications during a nuclear war, actually did something totally different. It allowed information to escape. Information found its freedom. Information is being beamed to us all the time, and we are empowered by the information we receive. And we kind of forget that at the beginning of the internet, information really only flowed one way. It was a tiny bit up and a lot more back, which is why the first page of Yahoo looked like that, and the first page of Travelocity looked like that. And there was another reason. It was slow, right? It was really slow. But, you know, even that limited connectivity equaled great opportunity for disruption. We disrupted music and mapping and news and photography and travel. And then we had a change because users began to create information themselves. They started making information flow in two directions. They began writing and selling and rating. And we've had this explosion of social data creation. So we began creating information ourselves. And that was added to by mobility, which came along just about at the same time. So we have 7 billion cell phones in the world today. 5 billion of them are network connected. 2 billion of them are smartphones, where we're constantly consuming and creating data. And it isn't just text. We take 1 trillion images a year on our cell phones. So more data being created. And then we have this explosion of sensor data. Right? The Internet of Things. There are going to be 38 billion things connected to the internet by 2020. Things like jet engines that are now constantly feeding data back to the airline. Things like pill bottles that can tell you when to take your drug. I'm part of the Internet of Things because a couple of years ago I got a tiny heart monitor the size of a paperclip injected in my chest, and every night it reports to the cloud on my heart performance. So I'm part of IoT. I think that's kind of cool, right? And what that's done, all those changes, is taken the little stream of data that was created back when Bill Gates was typing on a teletype and turned it into a raging torrent from IoT, from wearables, from your laptop, from your Apple Watch, a torrent of data. And that, of course, has created big data. Big data, and it's really big. It's 2.5 quintillion bytes created every day. 90% of the world's data is created in the last 3 years. 80% is unstructured data. It's blogs, it's audio, it's video. It's not rows and columns in a standard database. Huge amounts of data. Now, we had to have a place to put all that data, and that's where the cloud comes in. Now, what is the cloud anyway? It just means instead of having your own data center, we keep it at Amazon or Microsoft. Why is that important? Because it's instantly available, insanely inexpensive, and infinitely scalable, and drop-dead easy. And what that has done is change the computing game. Today, 2 guys and a dog in Silicon Valley have as much computing power as the largest company in the world. That has changed the game. Now, we're getting disruption through big data. We had to figure out how to find the wisdom in it. We're doing that through advanced mathematics and algorithms. So Facebook News is an algorithm. We're finding out maybe that's not so great, right? 60% of the stock market, those trades are by algorithm. No people are doing it. You can't go appeal to them that your company is good. It's an algorithm. Blockchain, the basis of Bitcoin, is an algorithm. But it's also totally changing contracts and will probably eliminate auditing. So huge disruption from algorithms. Now AI is also being used to attack big data. So if data is the new oil of the 21st century, AI is the refinery. And AI isn't coming in the future, it's here now. In your self-driving car, in your Amazon Echo, in Siri, in your Roomba vacuum. AI is all around us. So I could go on with 20 more technological pieces of disruption. But more importantly is what happens after the technology shows up, because technique follows technology. It takes a while to get the right technique, but techniques are coming forward now and they're creating totally new business models. Uber, the largest limo company, owns no vehicles. Facebook, the largest publisher, creates no content. Alibaba, the largest retailer, has no inventory. Airbnb doesn't own hotels. What do they own? They own the edge. They own the edge. Now, the edge used to be about location, about being at First and Main. But the edge today is being at the edge of the glass. Because that's where the customer is, whether they're shopping in the store or sitting in their easy chair. Apps rule the edge. Taco Bell just announced they get 20% higher average orders from an app than from the store. Why? Well, because there's nobody behind you kind of pushing you ahead, right? You got a lot of time, and you can read the whole menu instead of just those 6 things on the backboard. Waze has figured out the edge. They tell you when you're stuck in traffic. Now when you're stuck in traffic, they say, how about a donut? Dunkin' Donuts right here, right? GM is doing the same thing by putting IBM Watson in cars. Hey, go get a latte. It's right over there, right? Amazon is the best at this. So they have these dash buttons. You can put them all around your house. You can put them on your washing machine and press a button and order Tide from Amazon, right? And now they're building an API so that the washing machine can order its own Tide whenever it wants from Amazon. And guess what? Brother printers are already ordering their own ink, and Britas are ordering their own filters. What a lock! You gonna reprogram your Brita to order from somebody else? Nah. And now we have Amazon Echo and Google Home and all these devices. Listen to how they work.
Alexa, order toilet paper.
Amazon's choice for toilet paper is Angel Soft Bath Tissue.
That's cool. Alexa, order a TV.
The top search result for 42-inch TV is Seiki SE43 543-inch 1080p LED TV. Should I order it?
Yes.
Why is that important? If you go to Amazon today, you see 30 brands of toilet paper. If you ask Alexa, you only hear about one. What is it going to cost to be that one? How much is that going to change how things are sold? Somewhere out there in Silicon Valley are a bunch of people saying, your margin is my opportunity. Your margin is my opportunity. They are changing the world by using OPA, other people's assets. Here's how it works. Let me show you on a Rubik's Cube. So this is traditional Amazon business model. And then Jeff said, let's sell used books. And the team said, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. And he said, no, think about it. We don't have to buy books, store books, ship books. We don't have to set the price or finance the inventory. We'll just do these 4 things, add some amazing software. Fulfillment by Amazon is half their business, no assets. Uber looked at limos and said, we don't want to own cars, licensed cars, service cars. The market enforces our standards. Drivers find us. We'll just set prices, find clients, bill and collect. Add some software, become the biggest limo company in the world. Airbnb, same deal. Hey, what are we going to do? Hotels can find us. We're not going to provide security, manage the property, hire staff. We're not going to set prices. We're just going to do these 4 things, add some software, and become the biggest hotel company on earth. So, other people's assets. How about OPI? Other people's information. That's what hubs and platforms are doing. That's what Google is. It doesn't produce information, it brokers it, right? How about OPD? Other people's data. That's Kayak. We don't fly airplanes, we don't own hotels, we just created $2 billion worth of value with a tiny layer. These companies are about less capital and more speed. But you might be saying, well, wait a minute, it's not fair. I have the customers, I have the factory, I have the supply chain, I have the brand. But maybe you're not easy. And there's a mantra in Silicon Valley, step 1, install software. There is no step 2. It's that easy. So don't let some kid in Silicon Valley come eat your business. You have to own the assets and the edge. What's the new model? Well, recently I spoke to Hartford Steam Boiler Insurance, a 150-year-old company. They still insure steam boilers. I said, what are you doing today? They said, we're doing cyber insurance and we're insuring the Internet of Things. That's why they're 150 years old. They get it. They're changing. How about ONI? Outcomes, not iron. That's what asset companies are doing. So General Electric will now sell you a jet engine by uptime. You want it up 99% of the time? Here's what it costs. You don't have to buy it. You can rent it, right? They have enough data, they can do that. Insurance companies are saying, put this sensor in your car and I'll sell you an outcome because I know what kind of risks you take. John Deere and Dow are saying, if you use a John Deere corn drill, you use Dow fertilizer, we will guarantee your crop yield. Outcomes. Outcomes are powerful. More productivity, less energy, more safety. Outcomes, not iron. You control the edge yourself. You can own the asset and the edge. You've got to do it because you can't play whack-a-mole with 3,000 startups. You just can't keep up. You have to change. What's holding you back from being a disruptor yourself? Maybe it has to do with risk. Do you avoid it, reduce it, transfer it? In this world, you have to accept it. Now, I started my career as a receptionist in a travel agency 45 years ago. 6 months in, my boss said, hey, let's go and do a startup. And you might think that was a big risk. It was really a small risk. I was 21, lived in an apartment, I was single, wasn't making much money anyway. We turned it into the 50th largest travel company in the US. Later, I went to work for American Airlines. I spent 18 years crawling up the ladder until I was CIO. When I was CIO, I decided to take a huge risk. I was married, I had 2 kids, a big mortgage, a big salary. I said, you know, there's this little online thing we got called Easy Saver, a couple of people. I want to do that. Everybody said, you're crazy. Took a big risk. We turned it into Travelocity, took it public for $1.2 billion. Since that time, I've taken a bunch of little risks. I'm an author, a speaker. I've been on 13 public and private boards. If I look back on those companies, some shrank, some flamed out entirely, and the rest created $6 billion worth of value. Now I'm all in again with my time and my treasure. I've got a new startup, Wayblazer.ai, applying AI to the travel business. People say, Terry, do you have to do another startup? I say, no, I'm on Medicare, man. I don't have to do anything. I want to do it. Take the first risk. Your company was initially founded on risk, but it probably doesn't take risks anymore. You must. You have to take risks to move forward. And you have to make better decisions. You're probably stuck in corporate pinball. Many people envy Silicon Valley. There's only 2 guys, they make decisions like this. But see, in a corporation, you have an idea and you launch it out there. You're so excited, and then marketing has some questions. And then IT doesn't really like it. And then if you get by them, well, then service says, well, we can't service it. Manufacturing says we can't build it. And if you get past them, well, now it's time for the big guns because they roll out finance and legal and, well, it's just game over, right? That's decisions in big corporations, but get what? Together as a company, you have more intelligence than 2 people in Silicon Valley. But you have to stop closing the door and saying no. Your job is to get the idea to the finish line, to get it over, to say yes. And maybe you're just chained to an old model. You know, you say, well, Bob, we've always done it this way, and we've never done it that way. Look, what is dangerous is not to evolve. Face your fears. Established companies view disruption as a threat instead of saying, how can we do that? How can we do that? I'm old enough to know you can't close your mind to new ideas. You have to test out every possibility if you want to solve something new, said John Goodenough, the inventor of the lithium battery. He's 94. He didn't just say it, he lives it, because he just invented at 94 a battery that's going to put lithium out of business. Awesome. Their innovation is your disruption. But disruption, innovation, they're just two sides of the same coin. You just call it a disruption because you didn't do it, right? So stop being disruptive and innovate. And don't just recreate the past with these new tools. Reimagine what life can be. Chuck Hall invented the 3D printer. It was said he was looking at a CNC machine, which is subtractive. And he said, what if we had an additive device? And he looked at an inkjet printer. And what are people doing now? They're making hands for kids who never had them. They're making ears that can hear with simulated skin. They're reimagining. We had radio-controlled airplanes for years. It took a Mexican immigrant who took apart his Nintendo to invent the first drone. And of course, we just recreated the past. We said, oh, we can make a crop duster with a drone. And then people got smarter and said, we could help the farmer. We could sense where crops needed more water, where they need more fertilizer. They reimagined. So reimagine in this new world. Finding disruption isn't easy. You have to think about risk. You have to say yes. You have to let go of old models. And I wish there was a key on the keyboard for innovation, but there isn't. And I know you think you have a tough job. You do. And when you add all these new technologies, it gets harder. But you don't have the toughest job. They have the toughest job. They're the Great Wallendas, the world's best wire act. You know what their mission statement is? You fall, you die. They have a tough job. You can do this. If you understand that change is inevitable, but success is optional. And the future is a foreign country, and they do things differently there. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if you want the slides, you can get them there.